Hi, Becky and Alice. I thought that I would make you a short video so that you get the teaching points that we won't have time to cover in our session this afternoon. So this should take, I don't know, 15 minutes, something like that, to make sure that you've got what the others have got too. So let me share the screen and let's do it. Okay, just coming up. So here we are in our session 2, getting the fundamentals in place. And what I'm going to cover in this, you will have done the presentations. This is about opening bangs. How do you really kick off strongly, powerfully, with impact? Then I want to mention about features, advantages, benefits, and value, because again, that should come really high up in your presentation, because that's what engages us and catches us, particularly if we're a senior audience. This is really imperative that you stick in there. And then I want to talk about language. Number 5, you'll already have covered off because that's what you're going to do in between times. So let me crack on with opening bangs. So what is an opening bang? This is how you begin your presentation. And remember, our audience attention is highest when you're feeling most uncomfortable and your heartbeat starts to quicken. So this is when you have to be fluent and know what you're talking about. And these are classic ways here that people start off. So I'm not going to go through them all because you've read them all by now. But this is the basics. So how do you do better than basics? What I love to do is think about how are you additive in your process. And by additive, I mean you bang 1 or 2 or 3 things together. So you might start, for example, with a classic. I'm here to talk about opening bangs, and then do a participative. How many of you here feel that you've ever thrown away the opportunity to open really strongly? Put your hand up, or answer my poll if you're on Zoom, or give me a boo, or give me a cheer. So you can do participative in a number of different ways. And having done that, I might give you some data points by saying, well, do you know that you've only got 5 seconds to hook your audience? And do you know that 2 minutes in, if you haven't hooked your audience, they're never going to come back, and you're never going to recapture them? And do you know that only 7% of audiences draw inferences? So don't give them complex numbers at the beginning. So you're pulling in data points that are relevant to what your audience are there to hear. Now, I do also love a metaphor. So do you know why an opening bang is like fireworks at the beginning of a party and not the end? So you've got a metaphor there, which is just something interesting. You should have then some fireworks in your mind as a play, and that helps then you remember what I'm saying. So metaphors are really useful, kind of mini word picture, just like a vignette, which is an extended one. So imagine is another really helpful tool. Imagine it's 5 years down the road and we've already done X, Y, and Z. Then you can ask a question, how did we get there? And then you might tell a story which backs you up, so that you start pushing all these things together to make it a more interesting, impactful beginning. So that's how you do something which is additive. Let's move into opening bangs now and think here about opening bangs and how you try and put in features, advantages, benefits to those opening bangs. Okay, let's just cover off what features, advantages, and benefits are. So I'm sitting in front of my laptop, as I suspect you are. A feature of my laptop is it's got keys. That's a feature. Now, to get to the advantages, you say, which means that. So what do keys give me? Well, keys mean that it's easier for me to use my laptop. And then you go, which means that I save myself effort. I save myself time. So that gives me the benefit. So then you would talk about, if you're doing a presentation, get yourself a laptop with keys, because they're easier to use. It'll save you time and effort. And time and effort is what everybody wants to save. So I'm here to talk about blah, 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 blah. So that's how you get yourself to benefits. Let me just give you a slide of here's what the benefits all are. I can't think of any more benefits than these. Now, in corporate life, it's always one or two. But when you're out there talking about your brands, you're probably also talking about reputation or a moral or ethical position with a purpose-led brand. Peace of mind for your customers or your end users. Maybe it's increased health and well-being. So here we've got number 7. If you look at number 7, ego, status, expertise, those are quite useful for when you're presenting to the board. So these are the benefits that I encourage you to try and find at the beginning of your presentation, because if you do an opening bang and then pop into that, the benefit of what you're doing, you really have us. We will be utterly sold on what is coming next and be with you and wanting to hear what you're saying. So I'm going to just give you a really, really basic example here with frozen peas. So this is to help you, show you how you do your thinking. So I haven't talked about value yet, but we've got features, advantages, benefits, and value. And let me just show you a couple of these with peas, and you work each one through with frozen peas, taking the very basics. You take, when you're doing this exercise for yourself, you take it from the very, very basic stuff to work it through. So here we go. Peas, yes, they're small, green and frozen. Let's take small and frozen. So which means that they're long lasting, they're quick to cook. Which means that you will save time shopping and you'll save time cooking. And then the value is the cumulative amount of your benefit expressed in something that we can calculate. So for example, here I've written down, if you eat peas twice a week instead of eating broccoli, you will save yourself 12 hours a year in terms of washing them, washing your broccoli. Imagine you've got to wash your broccoli, chop your broccoli, cook your broccoli, drain your broccoli, put butter on your broccoli, whatever it is you put on your broccoli. So that is the imaginary, if it's 10 hours a week, 10 minutes a week that you save, that will be 12 hours a year. So you try and calculate what the overall value in terms of something that's quantifiable. Let's have another one. The peas are cheap. That's a feature of frozen peas. So the advantage of that, right, that they're cheap means that you'll spend less on your weekly shopping, which means that you'll save money. Right, so the value of that, when you put it together, if you eat peas twice a week instead of eating broccoli, you'll save yourself £100 a year. Now you have to be careful with value, because value is personal to each person, to your audience members. So for me, I don't mind about £100 a year, but my niece B, who's a student, really minds about £100 a year. So you would sell her peas on saving money, but you'd sell me peas on saving time. So you just have to think about, when you work through what this is and you come to some kind of value, if you can't always do that, and you can't always come to a benefit. If you can't come to a benefit, you can certainly come to an advantage. And if you can't do that, you shouldn't be out presenting what you're talking about. So be specific about the benefits and the overall value to your audience members. And if you don't know, you're just going to have to be liberal, remembering what all those benefits are. So that's features, advantages, benefits, and value. Let me move into the final thing I want to talk about for you this morning, this afternoon, or whenever you're watching it. And this is language. So language. Now, there are some things that power up what you say and some things that really drain it away. And if you look down the left-hand side, you'll see down here all the things that drain it away. So passive voice. So if I say I hit Alice, Alice was hit by me as a passive voice. And we use that in corporate terms to issue blame. You know, a mistake was made. You'll never turn around and say, Jess made complete, utter hash of this. Now, that's one thing. We've got then longer sentences with no pauses. They become really tough to listen to. as does the formal and Latin based. And formal and Latin based is connected here. Let me just grab my pen and do some drawing. Formal and Latin based here, this stuff here is really connected with TION and MENT. So formal and Latin based. So nouns, if I say utilization, which is a pet peeve of mine, that's a noun, but it's much stronger as a verb, and I'll come to that in a minute. But before I come to that, this is for you to work out. Sort of, kind of, these fillers and these weakeners really reduce your impact. So if that's you, the tip is slow down, power pause, and stick in an intensifier. So we are extremely happy to be here today. I'm delighted to come and tell you. So those things, they intensify, particularly when you land on the word. Now, let me go back to this thing, because this is what I now want to draw your attention to. If nouns, TION and MENT, are your weakness, there's always a verb. So let's just think about utilize. So that's the verb from utilization. But there's an Anglo-Saxon word which is even shorter and more powerful. Now, if you think about any swear words you've ever heard in English, they're really hard and they're short. So to sound, the pronunciation of it. So think of any swear word you like, you can hear how hard it is. But so when you speak using Anglo-Saxon words, you sound more impactful. So authorize is the verb from authorization. But what am I doing if I'm authorizing you? I'm allowing you. So allow is a much more impactful word. Tell, talk, order, agree, go, work together, show. So these are all things that you can, they're shorter words, and when you use them, you'll have much more impact. So utilization, utilize, use. Make it as short as you can, and you have much more impact in what you say. So at the beginning, when you start and write anything on your slides, just try and always use a verb, because it makes you sound leaderly, more action oriented. And the thing we want to know that you're doing is doing the doing. So verbs tell us doing. Right. I'm going to be watching out for verbs on your slides, and we'll see, are there nouns that can be transformed into verbs to make what you say that much more impactful. So that's what I wanted to cover, to give you a brief look at opening bangs, wrapping benefits into your opening bangs where you can, and thinking about the most impactful language that you can use. Okay, thanks for watching this, and see you next time.